world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslak.
And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen. Welcome back. So last week we talked about flow and we wanted to continue that conversation because there's so much to this. There's so much that we can do and be empowered to do, and yet most of the time we spend our time in a disempowered flow state. And so Stephanie and I were talking about how as leaders, we oftentimes have an expectation. I think even as human beings, right? We all have expectations. We have expectations for ourselves. We have expectations for those around us. And I have a great example actually from one of my coaches where he talks about when we go to hire somebody. And it's very clear when I talk in sales perspectives, right? So when I think about hiring somebody to do my sales for me, I put a resume or I put a job ad out there. I need somebody to do sales. And I go to hire this person. I'm like, okay, I need 10,000 units of this sold per month. That's the quota. And the person says, well, I don't think I can do that. I can only do 5,000. And so now I shame them around, well, but I need 10,000 and you didn't do it. And instead, thinking about that differently, like what if we had a different relationship with that? And instead be like, okay, I know personally that I need 10,000 units sold, and I don't even mention that. I just ask the person, what do you think that you can do each month? What would be comfortable for you? They're like, well, I can do 3,000 of that. Like, great. All right. So I need 3,000 units from you, and how can I support you in that? And then I go and find somebody else to do the other 7. Instead of getting into this dynamic of shame and blame, it's allowing somebody to be where they are and be in their flow and what works for them. And now I'm in a better relationship, right?
It's such an interesting space to allow that freedom, allow that flow, because I think as leaders and even as, well, and when I say leaders, I talk about even leading my own life. I think I should have, like, that's what shame is, right? Should have already mastered everything.
Yeah, I love that.
We think that we should have already mastered this. Like, what do you mean? Or I hire somebody. Well, you should have already mastered this. That's why I hired you. Instead of being open to the possibility of allowing the universe to surprise you and delight you. So when you literally from your heart say, this is what I need, that's valid request. And to have that space and that conviction that the universe will fulfill that space. That's like the space is a vacuum, right? It has to be filled. So allowing it and not trying to control it, not trying to figure it out, but literally making that request. And then sitting back, and I don't mean sit back and do nothing. I mean, sit back and really hold your faith and conviction to stay aware. I was just having some interesting situations with that where I had hired people or I had different things and maybe the communication wasn't there or my expectations were too high. You could do all that shoulda, coulda, woulda, ought to stuff, but ultimately it's always even a gift in the lessons of it. So what I mean by that is sometimes you can say, oh yes, I can do that. I can do that for you, Maren. I'd love to do that for you, Maren, because I love Maren and I love what Maren's working on. And I love the big picture of the why we're doing something together and how it's going to change the world. And I get excited about that. But if I really, really ask Stephanie, yes, you can do that. But is that yours to do? Because if it's not what my natural flow is, my gifts, my strength, my passion, my values, I might be able to do it for a little bit of time, but I can't sustain it. And when I can't sustain it, then that whole shame comes in. It's like, oh, why did I say yes? or resentment, right? Why did I say yes? I shouldn't have said yes. I've held this too long. Now I'm mad at Maren for asking me to do that, even though I said yes. It's my responsibility. And then I turn it around. And I say, oh, well, why did I even say yes? I shouldn't have said yes. And we play this ping pong game with this shame back and forth, shame and blame and shame and blame. When in essence, if I could give myself some space and go, wait a minute, is there a better way to do that? What's the easiest solution? That's flow. What is the easiest path? And we are so taught, aren't we, in society that the path of least resistance is the wrong one.
Yeah. And I think aware people get to the point of where they go, why did I agree to do that? I think a lot of people don't even get to that point. They're still in the point of like, I should do this. Not why did I agree to it? It's out of my flow. They don't even know it's out of their flow. They think that they should be doing it. Like this is, oh, I said I would do it. I have to do this. Or even for myself, like I'll use us as an example. So I've been doing the editing on our podcasts and it's not in my flow. It's not what I do well. And I've been doing it because I can, right? I have the ability to. Anything I put my mind to, I have the ability to. I know that about myself. And so I've been doing it and I got burnt out. And one of the things that happened, to be brutally honest, is that I started getting snappy at Stephanie. And that's what she was just talking about of like, then you start to blame the other person, right? So I showed up one day and I'm snapping at Stephanie. I'm like, oops, sorry. We need to find someone to do this stuff. And so we're in the process of finding someone who can edit our podcasts and do that for us because neither of us is that person. And instead of the shame and the blame and or shoulding myself, I don't need to. I can just let somebody else do it. And I think the most beautiful thing when I or anybody gets to that place is I free up space to do what I really came here to do. And every time I free up that space, I give permission to somebody else. Stephanie likes to say, the rising tides because she lives in an area where there are such things. I don't. The rising tides, right? They lift all boats, literally. So when I can get to that space of, you know what? I don't need to do stuff that are outside of my flow and I can really step into my flow. I give permission to all the people around me to do that and everybody gets lifted up.
So, this is a great point for all of you who are listening. So, take a moment and just ask yourself, am I getting cranky in certain areas of my life? Where am I a cranky puss? And perhaps that is because it's not really naturally my gift, my strength, my passion, or my value. That's a great insight. I call it that's the flag that's waving, saying, hello, you need to surrender here. And take a step right there. Take a step and just write down what it is that you're cranky about. And then asking, is this really mine to do? Am I the best person to be doing this? And can I ask for help? That's the second action. Can I ask for help to either get a system or a person in there that can do that better than I can? And let yourself off the hook. And then the second thing that I would say to do is really be kind to yourself. Then say, where is my path of least resistance? What is absolutely joyful and effortless for me to do? Because that is the one area where I can pretty much guarantee you're probably not valuing and appreciating yourself. Because those areas that are the path of least resistance, the area that is ease and joy for you, you probably have, because it comes so naturally, you probably have never even valued it in yourself. Whereas everybody else says, oh my gosh, can you please, that's so great that you're doing that. I so don't like doing that. We made a reference about that, about food. Maren and I were talking about food. Some people like broccoli, other people don't. Doesn't mean broccoli's wrong. It just means that there's a certain flavor, there's a certain thing that feeds your soul. What is it for you? And know that the things that don't feed your soul, there's somebody else that's their favorite thing to be nourished by. So when you ask for help, you're feeding them. You're feeding their soul and yours
Yeah.
too.
So, Stephanie, I know I can hear people out there right now, and they're saying, yeah, that's great, but I don't have the money to hire somebody else to do it. Right. And so this morning, when Stephanie and I are doing an inner mastery course right now, and earlier, Stephanie on the podcast mentioned the magic of the universe, like allowing the universe to do its thing. So Francine, one of the women on our inner mastery course right now, she was all excited because the universe showed up, right? So she doesn't like cleaning, and she wanted to organize for her sister coming into town. And so she had done some of it on her own, and then she really was like, no, I don't want to be doing this. And literally 10 minutes later, she got a text, and this woman's like, hey, Francine, I need your help because I'm starting this business of cleaning and organizing, and I need somebody that I can just like come in and do their place. But the only caveat, I want to do it for free for them, but I need to be able to take before and after pictures. And Francine was looking at her text like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? And she didn't doubt it. She just wrote back. She's like, if you're serious, absolutely. Right? So it doesn't have to, A, be hard, or B, be a hardship in order to have somebody else step in, because that was a win-win. This woman was so excited that Francine said yes, and Francine was so excited that this woman wanted to do what she didn't want to do, right? There are win-wins out there.
And this is the new way. I believe this is what we're being called to do, to be in a new world, is one of collaboration where we're recognizing ourselves and each other, and that there's a place for all of us, that everyone can belong, and we can all scale up together.
Yeah,
All
that's flow.
sides.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us on our podcast today, and we look forward to hearing from you and your suggestions and moving forward. And
yeah, and I'd just like to point out to the people who are listening to us, a couple of times we've mentioned video. We do have a YouTube channel, so if you're more of a visual person and you wanted to see our faces as we're chatting, you can check out our YouTube channel. It's The Soulful Leader, and we would love to see you there and or just hang out with you here on our podcast, either way. Great. Well, we will see you all next week. Thanks so much for joining us.
take care. Blessings.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.